If you get this right, you can only win from sports betting. Let me show you how to beat the sportsbooks at their own game. I'm Tony from Bet Analyst. Let's crack on. So to make following easier, I'm going to talk this through using slides. A quick introduction, and that is going to be the table of content. We need to discuss how you win, finding bets. I'm going to share with you a couple of reference websites. Also, I shall be explaining the strategy and following through with some examples. And finally will be the layer of protection needed to cover value bettors, people who are using software. The key to winning is beating true odds, which are betting lines without an house edge. For example, a flip of a coin would be odds of 2 and 2. Now, competition amongst sportsbooks creates this opportunity for you. And by that I mean you're going to get different odds from different sportsbooks. The more betting accounts you can get, the easier it becomes. Your second advantage is that sportsbooks have massive content and you get to pick and choose when to bet from tens of thousands of betting lines daily. If you so wish, data mining software can help you through the process of finding high value bets. If you do like this type of video, please consider subscribing, liking and commenting. It will all help the channel grow. Thank you. While motivation in itself isn't enough, the basics of profitable gambling are relatively straightforward. So hopefully this is your light switch moment. Many punters think professional betting is all about smash and grab. Well, it's not. It's a numbers game. So if we go back to our old faithful, the flip of a coin, where the true odds are 2 and 2, just imagine that you're getting the odds in this table. So if you was betting at odds of 1.90, you would be losing 5% on your total stakes. Odds of 2 would be the break-even point, and odds of 2.10 you would have a plus 5% EV, expected value. That means you'll be winning 5% on your total stakes. So if you was doing like 300 bets a month with 100 stakes at odds of 1.90, you would be losing 1,500. Whereas if you was getting them at odds of 2.10, you would be winning 1,500. If you was getting 600 bets down with the same stakes, then it would go up to 3,000, both win and lose depending on the odds. And at 1,000 bets, which is just 33 bets a day, which is easily done by professional gamblers, especially if you're using software, right? At odds of 1.90, you'd be losing 5,000, but at odds of 2.10, you would be winning 5,000. Let's quickly go through how these numbers could benefit you in the long run. So we're going to use the compounded interest method, right? So I've actually used the value of 5.26% in this chart here. So just imagine that your betting bank was 10,000 and you was betting 1% on each game. That would be 600 bets a month, that's 20 a day, right? 100 stakes, you would win in the first month 3,156, right? That would go after 11 months to 49,020. And on 12 months you'd have 64,491. Now if you accumulated that all together, you would come to 268,800 from a 10,000 opening bank. That's why you don't need to be greedy. That's why you need to build, using the compounded interest method. Now 5.26% might be a little bit ambitious because the sort of typical bet is probably 2.5%. So if we just take that into consideration, this is using 2.56. Now this was a colleague of mine, that's what they were getting, so that's why we did this at 2.56 and we looked into it a little bit. So using the compounded interest method here, as you sort of grow your bank, right, then you'll find that you come up to 58,023 at the end of the same period. So while it's not as much, the 268,800 or the 58,000, after a year, you've still taken a 10,000 betting bank to 58,000 if you was getting 2.63% margin with 600 bets per month. That's only 20 a day. Believe me, it's easily done. Now, getting the stakes down obviously is a different challenge, but that's something that we're going to cover a little bit later on, right? So let's move on to finding bets. If you use value betting software, finding bets is relatively straightforward. Now, there's loads of value betting software out there. Some of it's free, some of it's paid. Obviously, if you're paying for something, then you get a better performance. Take Rebel Betting, for example. They're scanning over 1 million odds per minute to find you the advantage. This is basically data mining with value locked in. Now, some of these softwares, they also offer in play, the likes of TradeMate Sports, BetBurger, OddsJam. You can look into those. Or maybe you just want to do it manually, find your own bets. Now, the example methods for that are obviously originator bets, where you've got an idea, you're following a league, you know more than the bookmakers do, you're capable of pricing. Or monitoring like betting activity, looking into the sort of odds comparison websites and taking it from there. But simply, finding bets should be relatively straightforward once you've got an inkling of the idea of what you want. Now we should get down to the nitty gritty of the video, and what you're going to need is these two websites, winnerodds.com and BetMonitor. Now, winnerodds.com is a betting calculator. That's the part that we want you to look at. And the second part is BetMonitor. That's an odds comparison website. Now, there obviously are other odds comparison websites. I mean, we've got the paid odds screen from OddsJam, but that's for us, you don't need to pay for something, and you can just use, like I say, BetMonitor. The strategy itself is relatively straightforward, in that we simply need to beat the true odds. So just imagine in that coin flip, anything over odds of 2 would be beneficial. We're going to do this by benchmarking. We're going to use sharp book odds and remove the house edge. Basically, you're going to target getting bigger odds by line shopping. We consider the following to be sharp book. Pinnacle Sportsbook. It's well known, it uses dynamic odds, and the actual market reflects the weight of money being bet. Secondly, the Betfair exchange is well known for having market prices, and that's why you're seeing a 100% book. Finally, for US sports, Circus Sportsbook. Since visual learning is the easiest, let's go through some examples. We're going to use football, NFL and basketball for this. Right, the system works best with 2 to 3 betting options. Right, so first is football, as you can see. Right, we're going to use Pinnacle Sports betting odds, and we're going to look at the game between Brentford and Wolves. Now, as you can see with the three-way odds, right, Brentford were being offered at 2.06, whereas in the two-way, the Asian handicap, they were being offered at 2.07. Now, this happens quite a lot with Pinnacle, so it's something that you've got to bear in mind if you are betting with them. Always check out both options. Yeah, these are the odds that we're going to use now going forwards, and we're going to pump them into the winner odds calculator. Right, so we're going to pump in the Asian handicap odds of 2.07 with 1.847. Now, as you can see, the MPTO, this is important that you get the MPTO, which I've outlined. It means that margin proportional to odds. Many online calculators are using the EM, and that's wrong, especially when the odds differentiate massively, right? So just bear that in mind. MPTO is the one for you. You can see that Brentford at 212, Wolves with the draw included, the X2 as it's known, is 1.89. That is now the 100% betting book. We go over and we sort of go to BetMonitor and we just line them up. We can see that SBO are offering 1.93 on the X2, the plus 0.5, right? And the best odds that we saw were 1.89, which means that we are getting 4 pips more. So there is a value in making that bet. If we look at the three-way market, we're putting the 2.06. Remember, it came to 212 when we went with the Asian handicap calculator, and it's 211 now, right? So we still need to beat the 212 in theory. And then the draw was 382, and the away team 378 if we're using the three-way. So in this instance, as you can see, there's something with the draw with the Betfair, but the problem is you've got to take 2% away in commission there, at least 2%. So that's of no value. And the 212 is exactly in line with the fair odds, right? So whether you wanted to bet that, it would only be if you really fancied it. We also look at Juventus against Lazio. Again, you can see same bet, different odds. You've got 182.6 and you've got 183.3 if you're betting in the Asian handicap, right? So always look at the Asian handicaps because they do often give a better value, but that's not the theme here. So let's just go over, let's just bang that in again to the win odds calculator. 1833 with the 203. We're going to remove the juice, and as you can see, the MPTO line again is 1.90 with 211, isn't it? Right, so that's Juventus minus 0.5 with Lazio plus 0.5. So if we're going to have a look at what the best odds were at the time, it was just the home at 187 and the away at 206. So what you can see there is they're both below the actual no juice odds, so absolute no betting value whatsoever. If we go now and put in the three-way to this next bet, so 1826 and 353, 451, you can see that the odds come up at 188.65, right? And if we just take that as 189 as the true odds, and it's 190 at the best odds plus 0.5, right? We've got to take that into consideration that the best odds were plus 0.5190. You can see in the 1x2 market there is also no betting value. As we move on to our last sort of soccer game that I just want to show you, you can see Roma at 1952, 1961 if you bet in the Asian handicap, exactly the same bet again. That's the odds that we've got to take into consideration. So even if we did the 1x2 odds, we'd have to replace the 1961, that's what we'd have to beat, right? So if we go and put those into the calculator, to the two-way, 1943, 1961, you can see that it's 199 with 201. We go now into the options that have been offered on Bet Monitor for the two-way market, and you can see there's no betting value because we can't beat those true odds of 199, 201. So we do it in the three-way again. You can see Roma have got the 2, and in this instance 457, 357. As we sort of go over, what we have to take into consideration is those Asian handicap odds, which was 201 for Roma. And now you can see a bit of value because you can see 204 with GG bet, and it's even 202 with SBO. So if you did fancy it, you could bet it. You've got the 3 points with GG bet if you've got the account. SBO, like I say, I think everybody can pretty well get them, and if you can, then it's still a value bet if you fancy it. But for one pip, I wouldn't necessarily break the bank. Yeah, so just take that into consideration. If we look at an NFL match, there you go, LA Rams against the Green Bay Packers. The advantage here is we've got pinnacle odds on the screen, so we can compare it relatively straightforward. You can see we've got 240 on the home, and we've got 163 on the away. So if we then remove the juice out of that, it becomes 2.49 and 1.67. Now this becomes interesting, doesn't it, if you've got a marathon bet account, because you can get 175 there, which is 8 pips higher, which is absolute massive, worth taking, right? You would break the bank for that one. That would be seen as a big bet, even though marathon bet probably wouldn't take a big bet, but it just gives you an idea, of how you can benefit if you are line shopping. Let's have a quick look at a basketball game. This was from the European League, Zalgiris against Barcelona. And I've got them pointed out on the top left hand side, 275 with BetChris, 275 with Betway. Pinnacle odds at this time were 2.30, 166. Remove the juice, you've got 240, 171. No benefit on the ride, no benefit on the away team. On the home team, you're getting 35 juice, which is again is well worth taking, right? So bear that in mind. You can do this with all sports. You can do it with tennis. You can do any sort of best of 2, best of 3 options, right? The final thing I want to really talk about is the protection mechanism, because a lot of you guys are using value betting software, and when you're using this, right, you're getting often given the same options. They'll say something like a basketball game, plus 161 is a value bet, plus 162, plus 163, plus 164, right? And so it becomes uninteresting because it's the same game with more options. It's just basically that the bookmakers out of line, but are they really out of line? So in this instance, what you're going to do is you would use that software, and you would double check the odds with the Pinnacle odds, right? You go over to Pinnacle, you go over to a sharp book, bang them into that system that shows you the winner odds, right? And you would cross check to see if they were truly value odds. Now they do get it wrong quite often. Value betting, like I say, it is a great option, but it isn't bomb proof, right? So you do need to have a second eye on it, right? My clients have improved their performance between 10 and 40% just by being a bit sort of sharper and a bit bit wiser by using this method, right? So I'm going to give you a real example now, and this is important. Just take notice. As you can see, this is going to be with Odds Jam. And this is very, very wrong. You can see on the left hand side it says that there's 3.66% juice. They're saying that the 4-3-3 odds is the bet. You can see it at the top. First half, both teams to score. Yes, 4.33. And you know, it is actually below the pinnacle odds, right? So, you know, you can see you're getting nowhere near value odds. It is totally wrong. If you actually adjusted those odds, you know, you'd find that it was substantially more, right? In this instance, 4.95. So if we go back 4.95, 4.33, and they're suggesting that it's 3.66%, well, I'm afraid they're terribly wrong, right? So that's, you know, your consideration. Well, I hope you got something from this episode. If you did, don't forget, subscribe, give us a like, maybe leave a comment. Also, if you're new to the channel, then maybe get over and have a look at some of our other videos. They're all educational. They all teach you to be better at sports betting. That's it for now. Don't forget, we've got the mentorship program for people who are at a good level, who want to get to the next level. And for the rest of you, you're through to boot camp again. Take care. Bye-bye.